are listening to The Local Voice on Orion Neighborhood Television, where our mission is to empower community members like you to create, communicate, and connect through television, radio, and video production. And without further ado, welcome into the show. It's Views from the Sideline, Episode 9. I'm one part of your host, Chris Pappas. That's Joey Tysick.
How's it going, everybody?
Joey, we're back in the saddle again. Are we back in California? It's nice out there.
Not quite.
I don't know.
It's nice, but we live in Michigan, so nice is 50 degrees.
I'll take
sunny.
it. Hey, it's 60 degrees out here. Come on.
Well,
Anyways, it's time for the show. We're getting back to it. A lot of stuff to break down.
tournament season.
It's about that time. And talking about tournament season, all the fans out there, get ready. We have some plans for a big show coming your way, especially with March Madness coming around the corner. A couple guests geared up and ready to go, and we'll break down the tournament, getting you ready for those Thursday games. Let's jump right into the rundown here. We're going to break down some Spartans. They finish off the season strong. Izzo wasn't a fan of the Big Ten tournament moving up a week. We'll get into that, give our opinion on it. The Wolverines demolished Maryland and move up in the polls once again. We give our Big Ten preview. And the OU Grizzlies are the OU Grizzlies. Nothing really much to talk about there, but we will because the Horizon tournament tips off this weekend at LCA, home of the Detroit Pistons, who are not doing very well. And we'll give some opinions when it comes to that front office in the Motor City. Now let's dive right into it, Joey. Let's talk about those Spartans like we usually do to start the show, because here in the state of Michigan, they're the best basketball team.
I think that's a question, but
You think it's a question?
I think it's a question. I think they're the best team right now, but I'm telling you, Michigan is a scary team. They have knocked off some teams that you didn't expect. Nobody talked about them, though, at the beginning of the season.
But I'm pretty sure on this show, when I said Michigan was the best team in the state, you're like, whoa. Let's not go so far. But now you're saying it's up for debate?
When did you ever say that Michigan was the best team? And
When they knocked off Michigan State.
oh, I guess at the time they were, yeah. But then I think Michigan State brought themselves back, and then it kind of like realigned into normality. But Michigan is definitely right there. I think people give them little credit, and they're rolling right now, and they're beating teams very handily.
Well, we'll get into the Wolverines in a little bit here, but I want to talk Spartans. They won the Big Ten title.
So they
Outright.
are the best.
So they are. I mean, yes, Michigan beat them, but they don't have the title in their hands this season.
Right.
But yeah, they beat a good Wisconsin team on the road to win the Big Ten title, and it was a tough game. What'd you see from that? Was it more of the same, and they just got a big time win, or was there something that stands out to you?
It was kind of more of the same, but they had some poor shooting. When you have two of your best players, Jaren Jackson and Miles Bridges, struggle as much as they did. Jaren Jackson was 3 of 10 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, only had 11 points. Miles Bridges was 3 of 15 and 0 for 7 from the three-point line for 10 points. It's going to be hard to win games. Luckily, the Wisconsin team is not as good. And the biggest takeaway, again, is that Cassius Winston is still playing really well. And I also give Miles Bridges a pass because of the whole FBI probe situation. I'm sure he's not entirely there.
Come on, Joey.
I'm sure he wasn't entirely mentally
Come
there.
on. I mean, he paid a $40 fine and he's clear. That was a story that came out a couple days ago, but I don't buy that. Come on, Bridges has been streaky all season long.
True,
and
yeah, it goes into just how he's been, but I'm just saying I think it added a little bit of pressure to it.
And you know what? Frankly, Miles Bridges is an overhyped prospect. Maybe he'll do better in the NBA. I'm just going to say it. The best Spartan is Jaren Jackson Jr. He's the best Spartan.
No, I agree. I think Miles Bridges has been a little bit overrated. I think that comes with the flashiness and athleticism that he possesses, and he still has like really, really high ceiling. So obviously he can get there, but he's just not that consistent right now that he's as good as people thought, per se.
And I feel like most of that comes from him having a very good freshman year. He could have won in the lottery if he opted to go to the NBA draft last season. He doesn't. He comes back, and everybody expects, okay, another year of Miles Bridges. He's going to be far and away better than these new prospects, these new players coming into college basketball, and he's just not. He's just not.
Right.
And frankly, he probably hurt his draft stock staying in because you have one less year of upside when you're looking from an NBA front office point of view, and he didn't produce at a level you expected him to.
Yeah, but I still think that he showed enough of his flaws in his freshman year that it was a good idea for him to come back into the system and work under a team like this, because sometimes in the NBA, especially as a freshman and having such high praise, like look at what happened to Markelle Fultz. Does anybody know?
Okay, that's
I'm
a
not. I'm saying that's a crazy situation. Like that's the
he had the
the
Andrew
fa-
Luck injury.
the farthest away, but I think that you can still take that maybe Miles Bridges has the same issue where he gets so much hype and praise, and then if he doesn't perform in the NBA, like I didn't think he would, which why I thought it was smart for him to come back, that maybe he ruins his NBA career. Now, yeah, he hurts his draft stock a little bit, but that's also because there's players that have come out this year like Trae Young, Colin Sexton, that have kind of overtaken that spot and taken a lot of the spotlight away from Bridges. But towards the end of the season, besides this game, he has played much better. But again, I want to get back to Cassius Winston being the biggest player on this team right now, and he's going to be very important going into the tournament. He had 20 points in this game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and he was 6 of 6 from the three-point line.
How many turnovers did he have?
I think he had 4. So it's not bad for as much time as he's had the ball in his hands, but
I do like that.
it's still a bit of an issue, of course, but he is getting much better.
I mean, and that comes with the major minutes he's starting to get now. He played 38 minutes against Wisconsin,
Mm-hmm.
and him and Bridges have been a solid backcourt, which is good to see. But one thing with this Cassius Winston, Miles Bridges backcourt, you kind of have to start to be wary of because they are so offensive oriented. It's on the defensive side of things. Because look at this for Wisconsin. The guard for Wisconsin, forgive me, Davidson, he had 30 points. Brad Davison.
Mm-hmm.
He averages 12 points per game, and he had 30.
Yep.
I mean, and that's really where this game got away from the Spartans a little bit. It's the defense on the guards. A lot of, like we say when the Pistons are playing, they don't stop the ball handler. The ball handler gets into the paint and starts to make plays for his teammates. And that's what really kind of derails this Spartan defense.
And you can also see it in the turnover differential. Like that's the thing we've been talking about all season long, is that's the scariest thing for this Spartans team. I think Wisconsin had 4 turnovers in this game, and I believe Michigan State had 11, and that's why the game was close. They don't cause any turnovers. Like Wisconsin is not that good of a team to only turn the ball over 4 times. Like they should be able to stop Wisconsin better with the talent and athleticism that they have. There's no way. Like they're long, they're lengthy, they should be able to get into passing lanes. And that's what I keep saying. They're a talented team, but they often hurt themselves.
And they often play down to their competition. Wisconsin, yes, it's a solid program. They finished the season 14-17.
Right.
And if you're gonna play lesser competition in the Big Ten tournament. And if you play down to your competition, we even saw this a couple years ago. Izzo teams tend to maybe take a night off at the wrong time. Middle Tennessee.
Yep.
I mean, and you had a guy like Denzel Valentine who is a big time player. He's playing big time minutes in the NBA now. If you're gonna get to the tournament, we talk about Izzo. He's made for March. Recently, he hasn't been. He's got a few demons he's got to work out there. And then talking about Izzo, he had a few comments earlier in the week talking about how the Big Ten tournament was moved up. It's about a week. It was supposed to start next week. It starts Thursday, tomorrow. And Izzo was not a fan of that. Now he is. And I wonder if that's because the Spartans are playing at such a torrid pace right now, number 2 in the nation. I want to get your opinion on this, Joey. What's your opinion of the Big Ten tournament moving up? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Are you indifferent?
I'm kind of indifferent. I don't see how it affects really anything. Like they've been playing all season long at this pace. I know that you get Wednesday through Sunday, you're playing all weekend. Michigan State doesn't play till Friday, so they'll just play a couple games. So they have time off. Like I
think they start Thursday.
I think their game is Friday. Michigan State.
No, Michigan State's Friday, but you said the tournament starts today.
Oh, their tournament starts today.
Does it? Who's playing today?
Yeah, the last seeds like Rutgers and Minnesota, and then the Iowa, Illinois, and then tomorrow they'll play Michigan, the winner of Iowa, Illinois, and yeah,
Gotcha. Okay.
And then Michigan State plays Friday. So
Yeah.
the top 4 teams will play Friday because they get.
Because I know Michigan plays. I believe Michigan plays Thursday. I thought I saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's 2 games tonight.
Gotcha.
And we'll get to that.
Yeah. So you said you're indifferent. Doesn't matter to you.
Yeah, I can't see why he would be upset. Do you have the reasons for him being upset? Do you know? Do you remember?
Let me pull it up here.
Only because, like, I don't know. You're playing basketball all season long already, and then you get a little bit. Maybe he's talking about now he'll have a longer break before the big dance.
That
maybe
could be a reason.
Maybe
yes.
that's why. I could understand that a little bit more if that's his reasoning, because then you don't have as much time off in between tournaments. So maybe that's his reasoning.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can see, because especially with a team that really likes to prepare themselves, and Izzo is a guy that's going to do the most he can. But Izzo said, yeah, in one string. Yeah, it's a positive. He says it's a positive because of all the things they went through, and it's a positive because they want to nail down how they want to play for the tournament. So that was Izzo's take. I kind of agree with it. For a team that's playing at such a high level, they do have some issues they need to work out. But when you're number 2 in the nation, you want to keep that going. Yeah, a little bit of a lull, essentially a bye week for the Spartans may come back to haunt them, but it didn't haunt them last year, didn't haunt them the year before, because it wasn't like that. The Big Ten tournament started the week before the actual tournament started, and Michigan State lost to Middle Tennessee.
Right.
They had early exits. So it's a good change of pace for the Spartans, and we'll see what ends up happening.
And if they happen to struggle, if any team happens to struggle in the Big Ten that you don't expect, that gives them another week of preparation where they can kind of get back mentally prepared again. But because otherwise, if you go in and you're expected to do big things in the Big Ten tournament and you don't, and then right after that, you're into the big NCAA tournament, then I don't know, maybe you'd be in trouble. So it's kind of a double-edged sword where it can give you more time to prepare for the big tournament if you don't like your Big Ten results. But if you win the Big Ten, then you're like, okay, I want to keep this rolling and just go right into the big dance. But, I mean, either way, they're all supposed to be basketball players. They've been doing it for their entire lives.
It's easier said than done. I mean, you could say that for almost any team outside of the Golden State Warriors.
Right. Well, but it's true, though.
They've
been playing, and they should be used to weird schedules, and things happen, things try to change, and, I mean, you just kind of got to roll with the punches.
Yeah. Essentially, moving on here, we've talked some Spartans. We're going to get back into them more when we give our Big Ten preview, but let's talk about the Wolverines here. Joey's favorite team here in the state. He's given his blessing to the Michigan Wolverines. Let's get into that. I mean, they demolished Maryland. They were up 30 at the halftime, 54-24. That game was over fast. Not all thanks to, but a good portion to Abdul Rahman. He had a career high 28 points. What'd you see there, Joey? I mean, Michigan, your team. Big win.
He's one of the best two-way players. I've said it before.
He might be top 5 two-way player in the NCAA. He might be.
Yeah, and he's not talked about as much because like he's kind of been the guy that's been there for so long, and you got guys like Mo Wagner that people talk about more often, and then some of the younger guys like Jordan Poole and that. But yep, he had 28 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal, 2 blocks. He just did everything for this team. And
he led the team in rebounding and assists. He was the leader in points, rebounds, assists for this team.
Right. And they beat a Maryland team. Maryland nowhere near as good as they were last year, but
I mean, they're 19-12. They're a good home team.
They're still a good program.
Yeah.
And they won 85-61. And you would have expected, okay, Mo Wagner had a good game.
Yeah.
He had 8 points. He was still efficient. Like he didn't shoot the ball much. He got shook up from a little collision late in the game. He had a little bit of foul trouble. But if you can win a game like that without one of your best players, that's incredible, and you're going to have a successful season. But, I mean...
That may have been the most aggressive game for Abdul Rahman that I've seen. He shot 13 threes, and he still shot just under 50%. He had 6 triples out of the 13. And you don't usually see that from him, especially early in the year and maybe into last year. That's when he started to get more aggressive. But it's good to see he has taken a huge step in this program at a time they needed it.
Right. And like we've said too all season is that Duncan Robinson has been nowhere for the most part. So to see Abdul Rahman step into a role that kind of needed to be filled with an extra score going into the tournament, I think it's a positive note for Michigan, obviously. And I mean, they shot 50% from the field for this game, 15 of 31 from the three, 48%. And they held Wisconsin to 38 from the field, 38%, and only 17% from the three. So they also had good defense. So this Michigan team has won 5 straight as opposed to Michigan State, I think, winning 13 straight. So both of these teams are on a roll. But the way that Michigan has won these games has looked more impressive than Michigan State, which is what we've kind of said all season long, is that Michigan State plays down to their level. So you take that into account. But Michigan's looking really good going into the tournament. And that's the only thing I've kind of had high praise for them going into this Big Ten tournament because they've looked so good in their wins. And even though they're not necessarily like the biggest wins per se, but they're meaningful wins.
I want to put you on the spot here, Joey.
Oh,
we
boy.
didn't talk about this pre-show either. So everybody, this is Joey on the spot. Outside of Mo Wagner and Abdul Rahman, who is the Michigan Wolverine X factor? The guy that's going to have to produce at a high level for this team to go far in the tournament. Not even just the Big Ten tournament, but the NCAA tournament.
Man, I keep thinking Duncan Robinson, but he just hasn't done it all season.
Yeah.
I think it's Charles Matthews. I mean, he's a big guard. He played well early on in the season. He's kind of disappeared a little bit lately.
I feel like he's maybe just not been as aggressive. I mean,
Right.
He's only shot maybe about 5-6 shots. He's on average about 6 shots per game, which is, I mean, probably less than he was earlier in the year.
Right. But so I think that he's probably the biggest X factor. Like I said, he's a big guard. He can shoot it well. He can attack the basket. And Michigan kind of needs that. Rockman can do it as well, because if you attack the basket, it leaves your shooters wide open most of the time. So I would say Charles Matthews, maybe Jordan Poole. He's been a spark all season off the bench.
That's my guy, Jordan Poole.
Yeah, he's been a highlight reel at times.
Highlight reel. He provides that energy. It's that boost off the bench. They tried to experiment a little bit with Poole going to the starting lineup. Ultimately, Beeline really likes Poole coming off the bench. He still plays big time minutes. He actually played probably a little bit less because of this game was a blowout, but he played 22 minutes. He shot 5 times. All were triples. He was 3 for 5 from deep. That's how Beeline likes to play. He gave him 12 points. And Jordan Poole is he's that energy guy. You always need a glue energy guy, either coming off the bench or playing a minor role in the starting lineup to kind of get the troops rallied, get them going at moments in the game where you just need that extra boost of energy, especially if you're on the road. So that's where I leave it. I really think Jordan Poole is that X factor for Michigan. And talking about Michigan some more here, the new AP poll came out once again. Michigan has moved up once again. They're number 15 in the nation. They keep inching up. Do you think they'll make one last push here in the Big Ten tournament, Joe?
I think they will. I think they're definitely the 4th best team in the Big Ten, I think. And I think that they can prove that they're even better than that if they make an upset against one of those teams. They'll either play Michigan State in the semifinal, or they would play in Ohio State or Purdue in the final if they make it that far. And that's where they could really prove themselves if they can beat one or two of those teams.
Now let's jump into, I know we're going to talk some OU Grizzlies basketball. We're going to talk a little Horizon tournament. But while we're on the topic here of Spartans, Wolverines, let's get into our Big Ten preview, if you will. I'm going to lead it off with you. I'll give you kind of the setup here for the bracket. First round starting tonight, like you said, it is Illinois versus Iowa. That winner will play Michigan. And then it's Rutgers versus Minnesota, and that winner will play Indiana. What's your preview here? What's your predictions? I think we want to go game by game here. Let's give a nice preview for the people. Give me your take for the first round games.
I think that Iowa will beat Illinois. I think they're just a better team this year. Illinois is nowhere near what they used to be back in the day way back in the day with like Darren Williams and all that. So I think Iowa can take that game. They've held their own against top level opponents. So I think they have a good chance. The Rutgers Minnesota game is actually really interesting to me too because Rutgers has played well all season. Obviously the record doesn't show it, but in a lot of the big games,
They play teams tough.
right, like the first half against Michigan State, that was a close game the whole way through. And we've said it too a little bit is that Minnesota's down this year. They've had a lot of injuries. They've had a couple off the court issues as well. So I think Rutgers could actually potentially upset Minnesota. Granted, Minnesota does have a strong program. They've been there before. They know how to play. So I think that Minnesota will end up winning, but Rutgers could take them over, I think.
Yeah. I'm going to go a little bit different here. I got Illinois over Iowa. I think Illinois tends to show out more in big-time games. I'm going to go Illinois based on just that factor. And then I agree with you, Rutgers. They've played teams tough. And I think Rutgers could take off Minnesota. Second round games, Wisconsin, Maryland. Maryland kicks off that. I'm going Wisconsin. I know they got destroyed and Maryland's had a good season. There's always that upset portion of tournaments that you just never expect. It's a winner take all. It's a one game thing. I think Wisconsin, their play style, they can take a team out. I got Wisconsin over Maryland, and then that will leave Michigan versus Illinois. You know I'm going Michigan. The Wolverines are playing at a high level. In that second round, they got Northwestern versus Penn State. That's the 10 and the 7 seed. I'm going upset again here, Northwestern. They're a type of team. They like to play three. They like to play that 3-and-D basketball, that pace and space, just like Michigan does. And we saw that against the Spartans when they were up when Northwestern was up 30-7 against the Spartans. That's the number one team in this tournament, number 2 in the nation, playing a team tough. Yes, they ultimately lost that one, but Penn State is no Michigan State. I'm going Northwestern over Penn State. And then Rutgers, Indiana, I'm going Indiana. That's my second round picks there. Joey, where you got second round?
I think I'm going to agree with you. I think that Wisconsin has played pretty well down the stretch here. Now that you've seen, Brad Davison scored that 30-point game against Michigan State, that's kind of alarming. Maybe if he can do that again, then they'll have a good chance. I don't know. Maryland's always tough, though. Like, they have the shooter Herder.
Yeah.
He's kind of a big guy.
Yep.
And he showed out in the tournament last year, I remember. And so it's kind of tough. But Wisconsin has Ethan Happ also to kind of match Herder, I believe. And he's had a couple big games throughout the season. So this will be one of the best games, I think, in the second round. But I think I'm still going to lean towards Wisconsin. And then that's going to leave me with Iowa versus Michigan, which, again, I think I'm going to have to pick Michigan.
I mean, you're the ambassador.
Right. So I'm going to go with Michigan.
He's writing with a blue pen right now on a yellow sheet of paper, people. He is the Michigan Wolverine ambassador.
Actually, take a look, Chris. It's black.
Well, I mean, it's got a blue on the outside, but I'm not talking about the ink.
Foiled.
Anyways, continue.
Okay. I think Northwestern and Penn State is going to be a really good game as well. I think this
That's I'm excited for that
this
one.
could be the most interesting because whoever wins this game gets to play Ohio State. And I think that either one of these teams could potentially upset Ohio State. Yeah, I think that's the biggest game to watch is after this Northwestern Penn State game, whoever plays Ohio State, I think it's going to be a good game because I think Ohio State has some flaws that maybe could get shown in that game. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen necessarily, but I think that's the highest chance of upset in this tournament. So watch out for that one. And then, man, I don't know. Indiana and who did I end up picking? Rutgers?
I thought, yeah, you picked Rutgers. Yeah, you picked Rutgers.
Yeah, okay. Guys, that game too, I don't know for sure. But Indiana and Rutgers, I'm going to go with, this is a weird one too. I'm going to go with Indiana. I think they're just a better program. They've been there before. They're not, I don't think they're as good as.
But Joey, this is now. It doesn't matter if they've been there before. This is a new team.
I know, but you still have the program. You got to take that into account sometimes. But I think Indiana's the better team. They've played better this season. I don't know. They're not that good.
I mean, you're keeping it real with people. I appreciate that.
They made it into the 6th seed, and that just kind of shows you what the Big Ten was this year.
I mean, they're a middle-of-the-pack team.
But I'm going to go with Indiana.
All right. We're going quarterfinal here. My quarterfinal first matchup, it's Wisconsin versus Michigan State. I mean, with how Wisconsin's a decent team. They can contend with that middle of the pack programs, but Michigan State is elite. They've kicked it into high gear. They're in a double-digit win streak right now. It's tournament time. There's no lull. There's no break here that I think Michigan State will struggle with. They're jumping right back into it. I think the Spartans are going to probably blow out the Badgers. I really don't expect much from this game. Hopefully I'm wrong because I'd love to see just an entertaining basketball game, especially it's March. That's the type of games I want to see. But I got Spartans over Wisconsin. Next matchup, Michigan-Nebraska. Yes, I know Michigan Wolverine ambassador here, but I'm going Wolverines. They're playing well. Mo Wagner, Abdul Rahman, and Jordan Poole. I love the energy Jordan Poole brings to the ball game. Nebraska, a solid team. They're no Michigan, though. That'll be a fun one to watch. It'll be interesting. Michigan's the 5, Nebraska's the 4, but I still think Michigan is the better of those two teams. And then Ohio versus Northwestern. That'll be a tight one. In the end, I'm going Ohio State over Northwestern in a close one. And then finishing it off, I got Purdue over Indiana. I think Purdue is going to start to kick it back into high gear. They start off the season strong. They've fallen kind of flat on their face a little bit with a couple losses. And this is a time for them to redeem themselves. And I think this tournament, definitely, they're going to start to redeem themselves, getting their name back out there heading into March Madness. All right, Joe, come on.
All right. I think Michigan State is going to take Wisconsin as well. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Michigan State will learn from their mistakes of this past meeting, but I think they'll take it pretty handily. Michigan-Nebraska is really interesting, too, because technically they have the same conference record, but Nebraska is the number 4 over Michigan because Nebraska beat Michigan later in the season, which was a big upset at the time. So I think Michigan's got a lot of revenge in this game. But Nebraska's still riding high because they'll think that, they beat Michigan last game. So this game could be very interesting. This is another one you want to watch out for. Then we go to, I'm going to pick Penn State. I don't know if I actually picked last round. So I'm going to pick Penn State and Ohio State. Again, I think this is a big one to watch as well. It's very interesting that Ohio State maybe could lose this game, but I don't think it's going to happen. I just think it's maybe the best possibility. So I think Ohio State's going to win. And then we're going to get Purdue and Indiana. I think the same thing. I think Purdue's going to get back on track, getting ready for the tournament. They're going to win this game pretty handily. I think they have the easiest bracket that they have to get to get to the finals. So I think Purdue will win, and it'll be the top 4 teams.
All right, moving on to the semifinals here. I mean, I think this is a matchup that everybody around the country wants to see.
They want it in the finals, though.
They want it in the finals. They're not going to get it. They're still going to get it in the tournament. I think it's just going to be a must-watch basketball game. Spartans, they lost their last meeting against Michigan. Michigan State. You got both teams playing at a very high level right now. This is a toss-up basketball game. I'm going Spartans. Back against the wall. I'm picking the favorite in this one. I think Bridges, Cassius Winston starting to come out at a perfect time. Jaren Jackson will give, I think, Mo Wagner a lot of issues, because Jackson's just a way more aggressive in the paint and just more of a physical player opposed to Wagner. I think Jackson can crash the glass a lot more and give Wagner issues in that aspect of the game. And the coaching between Izzo and Beeline, I mean, if the threes aren't falling early for Michigan, they're going to be in trouble. And I think the Spartans are going to get out on the perimeter a lot more. Give me the Spartans in the semifinal over Michigan in a close one. And then finishing it off in the semis, I got Ohio State versus Purdue. Like I said earlier, I think this is the time for Purdue to make that push, get their name back out there to the tournament committee, and secure a top 4 seed in the tournament. I'm going Purdue over Ohio State. I think Ohio State is on upset alert early in this one, and I know they're number 2 in this Big Ten, but I'm not sure they are a true number 2. I got Purdue over Ohio State, and that leads to my Michigan State-Purdue final, discussed right after Joey's semis.
Well, okay, like you said, big game. Michigan State versus Michigan. This one will be so exciting. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm going to be sitting on the couch on Saturday, just chilling out, maybe have a burger or two, have some drinks, This is like primetime basketball.
Some high-quality H2O.
This is exactly what we want to see. Michigan State. And we forgot to mention, this tournament is being played at Madison Square Garden. I think that plays a big role that you don't really understand.
The Mecca.
Like-
The history of this is this is a top 3 famous arena when it comes to basketball. I mean,
Oh,
this
for
is a
sure.
place that kids dream about playing.
Right. So I think that takes a big factor into it. Some people will thrive under the pressure. Some maybe crumble under the pressure. But this is exactly what we want to see. Michigan State, Michigan. Oh, man, my uncle's going to hate me for this, but I'm going to go with Michigan. I think they're going to upset Michigan State. But the problem is that I want Michigan State to win only because I think that Michigan State actually has a stronger chance of making a run in the Big Dance. So I think that holds stronger implications for the Big Ten tournament. But I think Michigan is just better right now.
You think?
And I hate saying that.
Why? You're the
Because
Michigan ambassador.
I'm not, though. Like,
People, I should tweet out the picture right now. Joey with a blue pen and a yellow.
it's an ONTV pen. Come on.
All right, whatever.
But anyway, I think Michigan is just rolling right now. I think that they're going to shoot well. And I could be totally wrong. They could fall flat on their face,
Of
and
course,
Michigan State could win this game easily.
we could have Rutgers win the Big Ten
like-
tournament
Okay, don't go that far.
if that happens.
But I'm going to go with Michigan. And it's just a weird gut feeling. We're just going to roll with it. Purdue, Ohio State, another great game. Last meeting, Ohio State actually took Purdue. But I'm going to go with Purdue. I think I agree with you that Purdue's just going to kind of turn it on. I think they're going to get back to form. Like, they're one of the best teams in the country, I think, still. So I think they're going to kind of make a showing in the Big Ten tournament. So I think they're going to beat Ohio State, leading to a Michigan-Purdue final for myself. Who's your champion, Chris?
All right. So I am a big believer in, especially in the sport of basketball, what you see early on plays to form in the end. Early on in this season, within the first 10, 15 games, Purdue was the best team in the Big Ten, one of the best teams in the nation, maybe top 2, top 3. I think Purdue is going to beat Michigan State. They're going to win the Big Ten tournament title. I got Purdue securing a 2 seed in the tournament,
Wow.
and they're going to make some noise. That 1-5 combo between Haas and, forgive me, point guard for Purdue,
Carson
Edwards,
and
It's
Vincent Edwards.
it is dynamic. Whenever Haas sets that screen for Edwards, he's always free for a triple, and he shoots that 3 at a high clip. I don't think there's not many teams that can guard that. If you can, good for you. If you can only contain that Edwards Haas pick and roll.
Yep, you can only survive.
I'm going Purdue 70-61. Lock it in.
Wow, that's a low-scoring game for some high-powered offense.
It's tournament play. All right.
All right, Michigan versus Purdue. Michigan versus Purdue. I feel like-
Give the people what they want, Joey.
all right, gut
In
feeling.
the great words of Jalen Rose. Forgive me, Jalen.
Oh boy, I'm gonna go with Michigan. And
That's what I'm saying.
are they gonna be back-to-back Big Ten champions in the Big Ten tournament?
I always hate that. It's either can't there just be one champion? Why is it? I know there's 2 different things. You're playing the regular season. You have the Big Ten title.
Tournament, yeah.
Yeah. I wish we would just combine that into the tournament. Whoever wins the tournament.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I don't know if regular season entirely matters.
I think that
because-
matters more. To me, that matters more for seeding. You're setting yourself up for the seeding in the tournament, and then whoever wins the tournament, they're your champion.
Right.
That's the outright title.
Right. And I mean, if you look at it last year, Michigan came back from the 8th seed to win the Big Ten title against Wisconsin. And now they're number 5. I think they're better. And I think that if they get past Michigan State, that they'll get Purdue. Because you got to think, too, Michigan played Purdue twice in the regular season. Both games close, tough losses. Is the 3rd time the charm for the Big Ten championship? I can see it in the newspapers now. That's a pretty big deal. And I think that'd be exciting, at least. I like the exciting storylines. And then it will give both Purdue and Michigan State reasons to perform better in the Big Dance. I don't know. I just want it to be an exciting Big Ten tournament. I think it will be. I think these top 4 teams are super, super strong. I don't know if there's really a way that they get upset. Like I said, maybe Northwestern, Penn State could upset Ohio State. But other than that, I mean, I don't really see anything changing. I think it's going to be these top 4 teams.
There's a lot of high power in the Big Ten this year that I think we're gonna get one of the best Big Ten tournaments we've seen in a long time.
I hope so, because Saturday and Sunday are going to be pretty exciting if it is. I just want to real quickly kind of go over.
Oh, wait. Before you go into that, though, you didn't give me a score.
Oh, I'm supposed to. Okay. Let's see. Man, the last game, it was like 90 to something, 92 to 90 or something. I'm going to go with 85-80, Michigan.
Okay. I just need it on the record.
Okay, yeah, okay. 85-80, everybody remember that. But I want to quickly go over the top 4 teams real quick, just to kind of show their strengths, like why they're so good and maybe what's the reasoning that they could win the whole tournament. So Michigan, real quick, they're a balanced offense. They're deep. They shoot threes, and they limit themselves in turnovers. They do not hurt themselves at all. So if you can make Michigan turn the ball over and stop their scoring, then you can win the game. Otherwise, Michigan, tough team because they're deep, they're talented. Michigan State, obviously, the athleticism is insane. They also have very balanced scoring, and they're one of the top rebounding teams in the country. I think they're 4th right now in the country. And they just have those top talents like Jaren Jackson and Miles Bridges. So just talent in general can get Michigan State through this tournament. Obviously, their turnovers are some of the issues. They're a little bit careless at times. They play down to their opponents. But Michigan State, very talented. Ohio State, Keita Bates-Diop was announced as the player of the year for the Big Ten. So he's obviously a big factor. And they also have the coach of the year in the Big Ten, and Chris Holtmann, which I think is very telling. And I mean, it gives those guys some confidence. Ohio State, kind of the surprise team in the Big Ten. But that's how they could win this tournament, too, is that, again, people doubting them, and they can bounce back. And if Diop has a very good tournament, he's so hard to stop.
I mean, I think it comes down to Diop. If he can, it's all what he produces.
Right.
Their hopes land on how he plays.
Mm-hmm. And then Purdue, real quick, their size, we talked about it before. You have 2 7-footers, is insane. They also are very balanced offense. Carson Edwards, Vincent Edwards. They even have the shooter Matthias Haas. They're a hard team to stop, and they shoot the ball well, and they also don't turn the ball over. They don't hurt themselves. So if you can somehow stop that, then maybe you can stop Purdue. But those top 4 teams, very talented. It's going to be a very exciting Saturday and Sunday. The first semifinal on Saturday is at 2 p.m. The second one is at 4:30, and the championship is on Sunday at 4:30. So I cannot wait.
I like that, Joe. I like breaking it down. Let the people know what's going on. Now let's transition here to another tournament happening this weekend. Maybe the biggest. No, it's not the biggest. I'm not gonna do that to the people. It's the Horizon League. The Grizzlies, they've struggled. Martez Walker done for the year. They split their last 2 against 2 lesser opponents. Maybe they're not lesser anymore. Maybe OU is on that same level. They lost to Green Bay. They beat Milwaukee in their season finale, 72-70 in senior night, which was it was a really good game. It was fun to see. It was awesome gesture by Jalen Hayes. Rather, he wore Martez Walker's jersey. I believe it was for the first half, and just a great tribute there. And it was good to see. We've seen a lot of jersey tributes lately. Even in the All-Star game, we saw Anthony Davis wear the DeMarcus Cousins jersey in tribute.
Real cute.
I mean, that was all because he doesn't want Boogie to leave him in the offseason. But
right.
It's all politics. But that was a good tribute. It was nice to see. Now, I want to get into the tournament here just to kind of lay it out for the people. The tournament starts Friday. And it's a different format here. Oakland doesn't play till Sunday. And they're the 4, they play the 5. But your first round matchup is Cleveland State versus Youngstown State, and then Green Bay versus Detroit Mercy. Quarterfinals will be Northern Kentucky versus the winner of Cleveland State and Youngstown State. And then you got Wright State versus Green Bay or Detroit Mercy. That's when Oakland comes into play. And the winner between those 2 quarterfinal games, they'll play the winner of Oakland, IUPUI, or UIC in Milwaukee. And then those 2 will meet in the semifinals. Or those 4 will meet in the semifinals, moving on to the actual championship. It'll be fun to watch. I'm interested. I'll be tuned in. I'm a Horizon League guy. I love the basketball. I know it's been an upset season. I'm excited to see what Kendrick Nunn will do. See if he can actually show out. He's had a couple big games recently. He's trying to shoulder the load for the team. So we'll see what happens there. But nothing really much to break down there. It's about if OU's Big 2 can carry them. And I'm not sure they can. I think OU is going to lose to IUPUI, unfortunately, but it'll be fun to see. You got any takes there, Joey?
I'm kind of in agreement. I think the now Big 2 are the very important factor. If Kendrick Nunn has a 30-40 point night against IUPUI, they can easily win this game. But I mean, they just recently lost IUPUI, so it's gonna be tough either way. But I wouldn't count Oakland out just yet. Maybe in the semifinal when they're gonna most likely have to play Northern Kentucky. That's gonna be rough unless Kendrick Nunn again. He could shoulder the load if he has a crazy tournament. There is a way. I don't necessarily think that it's gonna happen, but we get a little bit of a home field advantage. We got Little Caesars Arena, so maybe you get some Oakland fans to come out and cheer on the Grizz, and maybe they make a run. I don't think it's gonna happen, but it's got a chance when you got a player like Kendrick Nunn, like we always say.
Definitely. And like Joey just said, it's at LCA this year, which will be fun. Tip-off for the Grizzlies is 7:30 on March 4th. That's Sunday. Detroit Mercy, I believe, plays in that first-round game, and that'll be on Friday. So make sure to get down to LCA. It's a nice arena. Tickets aren't going to be expensive. You can probably get there for watch a good game for the weekend. Get your basketball fill in. Now let's transition to another team that plays at LCA, the Pizza Palace. Those Detroit Pistons. Man, am I tired about talking about these guys right now? They're 0-3 since the break. Joey called in his hot take. They've been getting demolished. Let me lay it down for you. 0-3 since the break. All losses by double figures. They lost to Boston, giving up 110 points at home. Then they go on the road to Charlotte. They're down 30 at a point in the first half, and they give up 114. And then they get demolished by the Toronto Raptors in the second half. The game was close at half. Pistons were down 59-53, kept it close. And then the Raptors turned it on to high gear. I believe it was a 17-2 run to start the third quarter. And Toronto ended up scoring 123 points on the Pistons. That's the most they've given up all season long. And it's the same story over and over again. I think this team has tuned out Stan Van Gundy, personally, because Stan says his teams are built around defense. What defense have we seen this year, Joey, outside of the first 20 games? Nothing.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't know what we're talking about. I haven't seen defense all year, basically.
I mean, outside of that strong start, there were some defensive moments, but I did see defense. Blake Griffin had a block one time, and it was kind of cool.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah. Joey, I mean, do you have any positivity to take from this 0-3? I mean, 0-3 start from the second half of the season?
Nope. I mean, I guess the positive note is that you played Boston and Toronto and you lost like you were expected to.
So your positive is that you lost the two teams you're expected to lose.
I guess. I mean, if we're looking for the positive notes here, maybe. But I mean, we lost to Charlotte, and like I said, Charlotte is a dangerous team. I think they've been underperforming all season long.
They picked up another win last night,
and they're kind of rolling a little bit right now.
They're only half game behind the Pistons.
Exactly. So I mean, I just don't even know what to say. Like, they just don't have any energy. Stan's lineups keep getting even weirder.
He doesn't even well, here's the thing. The Pistons lost 6 out of 7 now. Their only win coming against the G League Hawks, which I will keep calling that team the G League Hawks because they are. They had no Schroeder. They had no anybody. It was all call-ups and young guys. They barely won that game.
Yep. And ever since we did the Jameer Nelson and James Ennis trade, they've been getting a lot of clock, and I don't think it's very deserving.
Well, Stan finally stopped with the Jameer Nelson experiment. Good thing we gave up a second-round pick, though, for Jameer. I mean, you totally could have gotten that dude for a lot less. Oh, gosh.
Did I hear Van Gundy is going to try to play Kay Felder?
I hope so.
Is that what I
haven't heard
know
anything.
for sure. Okay.
I haven't heard anything.
I just thought that I heard something somewhere saying.
I mean, the driver playing at LCA today, right now, actually. But
because I would like to see that. I would like to see Kay Felder get a chance on this team, especially like the way we're going. I mean, we're going downhill quickly, and I think we need to just try some stuff.
I mean, at least we have the draft to look forward to.
Oh wait, and I mean too, like we talked about this all season too. Since that trade for James Ennis and stuff. He doesn't play Luke Kennard. Stan Van Gundy has totally forgotten about Luke Kennard somehow.
I'm not gonna lie, Luke has looked absolutely terrible on the defensive side of the ball lately. But your team is terrible right now.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my opinion here. He's last 6 of the 7 that you've lost. You're losing by double digits. The games aren't even close right now, but you still trout out the same lineup. You have Ish Smith. I believe it's Reggie Bullock at the 2. Then you got Stanley Johnson, and then the big 2, Blake and Andre. Why don't we switch it up? Let's get creative a little bit. Stop using the same lineup. You're going to get the same results. I don't understand the big issue here.
Yeah, especially when we're on a downfall like this. Like when something crazy is happening, like we've just lost 3 straight games by double digits. I think you need to try to change something up.
And here's something that I would experiment with the last 20 games. Stanley Johnson looks like he's a decent guy to run your offense. Decent. I mean, when his first game, I know it was preseason, whatever, but he impressed. He scored 30 points playing point guard in his Pistons debut. I know that was a long time ago, but he still looks good pushing the pace. When he's the guy getting the ball and attacking, he's initiating offense for this team. If I was Stan Van Gundy at this time with your team struggling so much, I'd start Stanley Johnson at point guard, start Luke Kennard at the 2, put Reggie at the 3. You have more shooting. And you know what? Stanley's a better three-point shooter than Ish Smith. He gives you a little bit where teams still have to get out on him a little bit. That's the direction I would go in. You're playing your young guys because Stanley's going to get minutes, Luke's going to get minutes, and Reggie Bullock. You know what? Reggie Bullock is going to be probably a cornerstone of this team because he's going to be back next year. He's your best three-point threat. He's number 3 in the NBA when it comes to three-point shooting at about 45%. That guy's actually, he's probably a player that most teams want.
Yeah, and I think you really have to look at it. The honeymoon phase of Blake Griffin is over, and it's time to start getting serious. And Blake has been struggling from the floor in a lot of these games, and he's looked a little frustrated. He's had some foul trouble. He's gotten a couple techs here and there. I mean, that's his nature. Like, he's been that way his whole career, but it doesn't help with where the Pistons are at the moment. And, you know, he's just, like I said, the honeymoon phase is over. The hype has kind of died down already. Unfortunately, it was short-lived.
I haven't seen any implementing of a new offense around Blake or Andre either. It looks like the same old.
Yeah, they tried to just throw him into the same offense, which worked like when he first came in, yes, because, you know, you have to be able to adapt, and it takes time to develop a new offense, but they never did.
And I thought Stan was going to take that all-star break period to develop more schemes, but it looks like they run the same thing. Maybe put Blake on a different corner, on a different post, on a different block. But outside of that, I'm not seeing much of a change. It's still here, give Blake the ball, dribble, then he'll look at where the three-point line is, take a step back, and shoot it and miss it. It reminds me a lot. I hate saying this. It reminds me of the Josh Smith era. That's what Josh would do. Yeah, but it's a more analytical. It's a better analytical shot to take the step back from where you are. But if you can't make it, is it really that much better? It's not. And I mean, it's really disappointing to see. Moving on, some news coming out of the Detroit News, rather. Rod Beard, who covers the Pistons for the Detroit News, reported in his article today that Jeff Bauer, Pistons GM, has some interest in the Charlotte Hornets GM job. Now, is that an inclination that Gorse may look to clean house here in the offseason? Or is that more so Bauer just doing his due diligence as an NBA executive?
I assume it's mostly to Bauer's due diligence, but I think Gorse should definitely look at cleaning house at this point. We're not going anywhere. We don't have any draft picks like we've talked about. We don't have any assets. We've given up everything that we've had to try to make this team something, and it didn't work. I think it's time.
And your only thing you can bank on right now, if you're the Pistons, say, hey, wait for Reggie to get back and we'll be a different team. Don't get me wrong, Reggie is a good player, and we've seen how valuable he is to this team, but Reggie's had knee issues. I mean, the ankle injury I'm not really too worried about. I think he'll be okay. That's an ankle sprain. It's a freak thing. It's more so the tendonitis in the knee. Is that going to creep back up next training camp when he loads back up his gameplay and trying to gear up for the 2018-19 season? There's not much to look forward to with this team right now.
Nope. It kind of has to be a miracle. They got to either figure something out in the offseason.
I think
I don't know if mentally or just new staff, but they need to do something, and I'm not opposed to doing something drastic.
There's two things here that I think you can do if you're the Pistons. One thing is to go total the opposite direction of where you have been going, and you package Andre Drummond, who now has trade value. He's he is a top 3 center in the NBA. He is.
Mm-hmm.
He may not have the skill of a DeMarcus Cousins, but he has the rebounding. Nobody has his rebounding skill.
Right.
DeAndre Jordan has taken a step back. Andre Drummond is a good 2 rebounds ahead of DeAndre now, and He's probably going to win his second rebounding title in the last 3 years. He's making his free throws now. You can play him in games down the stretch. And he's not shooting his little hook shots as much as he was, but that weren't really very valuable. I think you can trade Andre Drummond or you fire Stan Van Gundy. Those are the two moves that Gorst can do. And I say Gorst because Gorst is going to be the guy that says, okay, it's time to trade Drummond. I don't think it's going to be Stan Van Gundy that does that.
Right. And I agree. I think that's what it has to take. I think we have to kind of, and I've said it for a while, like I've always, for some reason in the back of my mind, said, let's trade Andre Drummond. Not because I don't like the guy. He seems like a great guy for Detroit, but he's not, I don't think he's the guy that you can build around per se. He's a great player, great talent.
I don't think you can build around him now because of all the money you have tied up in Blake Griffin.
Right. But I don't think, just in general, as a team, I don't think he's a player that you say, okay, let's build around Andre Drummond, kind of like we tried to do. I just don't think he's that kind of player. He's a great talent, great rebounder. He's definitely improved his free throw shooting, so it's good to see that. But I've always felt like he has good value to be able to trade, and we need at this point to shake things up. We need to make drastic changes. We need to maybe get some draft picks back at this point, since we gave up so many. I've also been a big fan of trading Reggie Jackson.
I mean, everybody's been a fan of trading Reggie Jackson.
Right, and at this point now, I don't know if he has the value that he once did because of the injuries that he's had now, and we haven't really seen him all season.
I mean, at least Reggie has only 2 years left on his contract, which is a plus when it comes to trying to trade him, especially to a team that maybe needs point guard help. We'll find out in the offseason how everything shakes up in the playoffs. I think a team to look at or to keep an eye on as you get into the offseason, depending on how they finish in the playoffs and in their run to the playoffs right now, is the Portland Trail Blazers. They have Yusuf Nurkic in the center position. He's solid. That's just what he is. He's solid.
Yeah.
Now, is Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, is that going to be enough to get you into the upper echelon of the Western Conference? Right now, that's a no. And we'll see how it shakes up. That could change with, the NBA playoffs are crazy sometimes. But let's say the Portland Trail Blazers have a first-round exit. Do they get crazy and maybe look, because I think Damian Lillard is the face of that franchise, so I think you sooner see CJ McCollum go than Damian Lillard. And the Pistons and Blazers had it was not much traction, but when they were looking at trading Drummond, not this deadline, but the one prior, there were some very little discussions about would they be interested in trading CJ McCollum. At the time, it was a no. But you could see those talks come back. I think that's a possibility because Drummond has that level of trade value, I feel like, and that could shake things up. Talking about the front office here, a lot of the members of the front office right now, their contracts are up after this season. That includes Jeff Bauer, and that's why his name, maybe he is doing that due diligence, like you said. And I think it is an opportunity for Gorst to finally clean house. And, after this year, as Stan Van Gundy only has 1 year remaining, will he want to be, per se, a lame duck? Because he'll have only 1 year remaining, no contract extension in sight. Will he want to live out that contract? It's all up to be seen. And this summer will be very telling in the direction the Pistons go. Unfortunately, I'm starting to think Gorst is a little delusional. I think he's going to keep Stan on, and I think they'll run out the contract, and they'll be left in mediocrity where they have been for the past 10 years.
Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous of that as well, only because you don't hear about it as much. You would have. I feel like you should have expected that people would start talking about, oh, is Stan Van Gundy done in Detroit? Nobody's said anything about that besides us Detroit fans. Like, Detroit fans are still saying, like, hey, we should probably look at Stan Van Gundy of, he's not doing the best job that we thought he was going to do. But you're not hearing it from, like, any media sources, any top-level people in the NBA saying, oh, is Stan Van Gundy's job on the line? No, they're talking about his off-court quotes and whatever he says throughout the end of games. They're not even worried about what he's doing on the court, which I think is a big concern. Like, he has not performed as well as he was supposed to. He was supposed to come
that's an understatement, yeah.
And change the team. And
you know what? He did change the culture a little bit. It was a tumultuous culture here in Detroit. He changed that around, don't get me wrong. But after 4 years now, he'll have 4 years in Detroit, 0 playoff wins, 1 trip to the playoffs, 0 wins. You're going to tell me you got 4 years to build this organization the way you wanted to. You didn't succeed. It's time for you to go. That's my stand on Stan Van Gundy. It's time for him to hit the road.
Yeah, and especially too, like people were like, "Oh, we're gonna be that Magic team that made it to the finals now. We're gonna be the team that has one big center and Andre Drummond, like a Dwight Howard, and then surrounds him with 3-point shooters." We didn't do that. We just got players. We didn't get shooters like the Magic had.
We had one season like that, and that was the playoff season. You had Ersan Ilyasova. I mean, then he was traded for Tobias Harris, but then you had Tobias, Marcus Morris, KCP. You actually had shooters and playmaking forwards built around Andre Drummond and Reggie Jackson. And that was your only somewhat successful lineup.
But they're still not like the knockdown shooters
No.
that Magic team had. That was my point, is that they're not like the pure style shooters. Like Tobias Harris is a multifaceted player. He has a very high skill set. Marcus Morris is kind of a brash guy. He's still got a mid-range jumper. He's not like specifically a 3-point shooter. I would say Ersan Ilyasova is kind of like the actual 3-point shooter, but
He's going to Philly, by the way.
right. And I mean, man, like this team, and then we made like all these weird acquisitions, and they didn't match with what Stan has done in the past, and it always didn't make sense. Like
the Blake Griffin trade doesn't really make sense.
I liked a lot of the moves that he did, but they also concerned me because they didn't fit like his mold of what he always talks about of how he wants to make a team. So like I said, I like the acquisitions, but the way that he implemented them, he tried to put them into his own system, which it didn't really work. So I don't really understand why he would do that when he has a system that he's always used.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was him just sort of trying to branch out as a coach. It didn't work out. I think Stan's time as an NBA coach is over. I really do. If it may not be this summer, it may come after his contract is done, but I think his time is up. His time is up. It's sad to see because he had a big opportunity, especially early on under Pat Riley, all that. It just didn't pan out.
Right.
Now we're up against the clock here. Only 3 minutes remaining. That's huge. Time went by fast. Big Ten preview here. Joey, you got any takes for this week? I know we kind of gave our hot takes in our previews here, but you got anything for the people?
No, I'm just excited to watch this tournament Saturday and Sunday. Like I said, I think my hot take is that Michigan wins the Big Ten tournament. Only because like nobody expects that. And I, again, like my usual hot takes, I don't know how positive I am for sure that it's going to actually happen, but I have a gut feeling. So, I was right on my last hot take that the Pistons would go 0-3, so maybe I can predict that Michigan wins the Big Ten tournament. But either way, I think it's going to be a great tournament, and I'm really excited to sit down and watch.
Yeah, definitely. All right, that's our show. Go out, watch some basketball this weekend. A lot of great games. Doesn't matter who you're a fan of. You got the Golden Grizzlies out at LCA. You got the Big Ten tournament. You got your Wolverines, your Spartans. And if you're a sad Pistons fan like me, you got your Pistons to watch lose a few games. So there's some basketball to watch. Go out, get some games in you, and we'll see you next week, hopefully for a more positive views from the sideline. We'll see you later, people.
Bye.